Hello, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of Menopause Reimagined. Today, we are covering the topic of mental health as we go into perimenopause and menopause. I've talked about my struggles with anxiety in the past, and today we're going to be covering the topic in detail with a mental health expert. But before I bring her in, I just want to do a quick intro to who I am. My name is Andrea Donsky. I'm a nutritionist for more than 20 years. I'm a menopause educator, 7-time published menopause researcher, and I'm the co-founder of wearemorphus.com, a company that empowers you to take control of your health and symptoms with nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, and research. And my new book, Nourishing Menopause, will be out May 5th, 2026, but you can actually pre-order your copy right now, and I would be super grateful if you did. So I put links to that below on how to do that. Today, I'm speaking with Helene Beck. She's a motivational speaker, educator, and the dynamic founder, CEO, and host of Coming from the Heart podcast. With a master's in teaching and a deep passion for empowering others, Helene has created a platform dedicated to real, raw conversations about mental health, personal growth, and resilience. Through her podcast, she brings together a diverse lineup of guests from doctors and thought leaders to artists and changemakers, sharing powerful stories that shine a light on topics like addiction, sexual assault, autism, and the stigma surrounding mental health. Helene's own journey with vertigo and mental health challenges became the driving force behind her mission to promote authenticity, healing, and human connection. Her motivational speaking engagements focus on embracing vulnerability, finding strength through adversity, and cultivating wellness in everyday life. Now, here's Helene. Welcome to Menopause Reimagined, Helene.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for having me.
Well, it's nice to see you again. I was recently on your podcast and I wanted to have you on mine because you are a mental health advocate. And we know as we go into perimenopause and menopause, the top 10 symptoms, out of the top 10 symptoms, about 90% are mental health and cognitive related. And that's not spoken about enough. That was something we found out from our published research back in December of 2024 on our symptoms research. So talk to us about like, what does it mean to be a mental health advocate?
Good question. I think what it is when people think about mental health or mental health advocacy, it can take on so many different venues and thoughts. But for me and my platform in the mental health space, advocacy is about supporting mental health where stigmas and destigmatization is what I really want to bring forward, specifically for women going through perimenopause and menopause, when you may feel that you're having symptoms, whether it's the sweats or your ears are itching. And for me personally, when I was going through perimenopause and menopause, I was also going through the beginning of vertigo. And a lot of my platform of why I have Coming from the Heart podcast is because I was dealing with large mental health issues, but I didn't know how to identify it. So conversations with you, Andrea, have confirmed a lot of maybe why it wasn't the whole reason of vertigo, but it could have been a contributing force.
Mm-hmm. And so for you helping women, so when you say advocate, does it mean like bringing awareness, I guess bringing awareness to what it means to what mental health even is? Maybe we start there.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So I think just to back up for a little bit and tell a little bit about my platform.
Mm-hmm.
When my platform first began, I had the luxury or the honor of speaking to many different people, let's say, for example, people who are in the therapy space, people who are psychiatrists, and we would really get deep into, mental health and advocacy and support. And what I realized at that point, as I was having all these organic conversations, is that I was interfacing with many different women. And we would share on and off camera of different things that we were going through physically in our body. And I thought, I really want to get more into women's health and women's mental health, because I know, and you know, that a lot of things are not quite identified. So when you talk about advocacy for me is just a support system that I can give to any type of guest or any guest coming onto the platform, where we can speak openly and honestly about things that we're going through in our life and just identify it and know that, of course, my platform is that you're never alone. And also really moving forward with stigmas of mental health and stigmas, let's say, even when you're talking about menopause, there are so many stigmas related to menopause and perimenopause. You should only feel this, or you shouldn't talk about that. I say, Andrea, let's talk about it all.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know growing up, before I was in perimenopause, I had major issues with anxiety and the stigma around anxiety. And now it's a little bit less and people are talking about it more. But it's one of those things that you can't really tell by like you couldn't tell that I was suffering so much internally by looking at me. I was good at hiding it. Hiding how I was feeling or being able to be social, even though when inside I was a wreck. So I think being able to talk about it openly is so important, and that stigma is so much less now, or it's lessening, and people like yourselves who are talking about it openly and not being afraid to talk about mental health in general is so important because it allows us to be like, hey, maybe I'm not, so unusual, or maybe there's a lot more people like me who actually are feeling like me, but or don't want to talk about it openly because it can be embarrassing to talk about it.
100%. I mean, I think that if we think back to our mother's menopause or our grandmother's menopause, where it was sort of like, it wasn't spoken about. It was sort of, shh, oh, they're having their moment. Well, now, thank goodness, as we are experiencing these symptoms and talking so openly, we can now, for the future generations, my daughter, your daughter, other young females, that it's something to be spoken about. I think the sad part, and I can actually say this, is that so many different health practitioners, and I'm not bashing all of them, there's some that are very good, are just not educated. The education in the mental health space, specifically with perimenopause and menopause, I think is excessively lacking. I
Hmm.
just did. I just
Well,
will.
and also if you think about it, like, so we have research that was published on doctor visits, or called our doctor visits research. And we had asked the women, I think there's over 1,500 women. I don't know the exact number right now. We have 15 surveys. So I'm like, I try to remember like the ends and like the data set of each of them, but sometimes I can and sometimes I cannot. But I'm pretty sure there's over 1,500 responses on that one. And it was our most engaged survey too. Women felt very passionate about talking about their doctors and healthcare providers.
Sure.
And what we were told is women who were given an option, like who were given a solution, not everyone was, but those who were offered a solution. So the number one thing, very close in line actually with the number two, is antidepressants first,
Ah,
and then hormones. So it shows you that they're still like, it should be like flipped, right? Like hormones should
yeah,
really be at, yeah. So like it's
yeah.
interesting how that for the longest time, doctors, I guess healthcare providers were prescribing antidepressants because that's the line that I guess the line of treatment that they knew or understood. But what does that say about our mental health?
It means it sucks. It means it means that we have a lot way to go. I mean, I'm not going to bash all situations because there are some really great
Of course. Yeah.
functional doctors out there on the more holistic side, I think, but it really depends on the practitioner, and it also really depends on your relationship. I think when we were talking on my podcast, I think what it is that as a female, you have to have a little bit of education behind you. And thank goodness for social media and other avenues where you can get some facts and you can go into your doctor and be like, hey, I'm feeling this. What do you think about that? Or I saw the study here. And all I have to say, if you're not really getting the response that you need, it's time to shop for a new doctor. Don't stick with that. And also know you have a community of other women that are, wanting to talk about that and expressing themselves on social media. So I think social media has a really great place for this. And I'm just so honored to even have this conversation because I'm so wanting to push mental health really in the space of perimenopause and menopause because I think it's just so, so important just to never to feel alone.
No, it is for sure. And don't get me wrong, antidepressants can be very helpful for a lot of women. Is it hormones? Like is that should that be the first line of treatment? And that's where the question comes in, right? And that's what our research is showing. So hopefully things will change and hormones will be up there and
Yeah.
because of the changing hormones. And I think things are changing as doctors are learning how to better treat us.
Awesome. What about, and diet too? Of course, that's your whole platform as well. Eating better, having better supplements, and a more holistic. I keep pressing holistic because that's where I'm really the place that I live in is the whole holistic space. Exercise, taking care of your body. Know your body is going to change. I mean, look, when I was going through perimenopause and menopause, or whatever was happening in the moment, exactly what came, well, perimenopause obviously came first with vertigo. I was just slammed with so much at once. It was so hard to figure out what was going on really for me. I think it was just, I look at it, this bomb going off. So people that are out there just know that you're not alone. You need to find other like-minded people and other resources.
I had vertigo too. I had it for 6 weeks when I was in perimenopause, and it was something I had something called labyrinthitis. And I don't know if it's because my hormones were changing that made me more susceptible to it. I don't know. I was in my 40s at the time, and it's awful. Vertigo is awful. And for any of you who have it, or know a large percentage of you do, it is a awful symptom because you're spinning, the room is spinning, you're nauseous. Like it's tough. So I feel you, Helene. I had it myself.
Thank you. You silently suffer. I was talking to someone the other day about it, and especially the hormonal component. And thanks for mentioning that as well as about your own situation. Is that maybe the hormones had a massive contribution to it, but no one actually sat me down and was like, "Okay, Helene, this is what's going on." It was sort of just figure it out or silently suffer until I decided to have a platform like coming from the heart. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's great that you want to talk about it and you want to destigmatize it. So, what are some of the things that you've learned from your platform?
Great question. How to just speak so openly and candidly to so many different voices. When I first began the podcast, like anything, when you're first starting out, you have a little bit more nerves, you're a little bit more scripted and like what you want to say. And what I've learned in the process of the 5 years that I'm doing it, I just get on and I am Helene and I'm authentically speaking from my heart, of course, coming from the heart. And the more that I can have these organic conversations with so many different thousands of people, the more that I've grown. I have morphed, to take from your brand. I have morphed and I have grown significantly. I'm definitely not the person that I was 5 years ago sitting down. And then I often will say to my kids, well, what if I didn't have vertigo? Like, what would I have done in my life? I don't know. I mean, I think things sort of happen. And for me, it's about bringing pain to purpose. That's basically what I'm about.
Hmm. And I think that's for so many of us then in the health world, and for those of us who want to help other people, coming from that pain to purpose is so key because we've experienced it. So we understand what people are going through, right? And then we're better able to like be sympathetic and just to me, it's like when you have it's like you're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to teach because you've come from that place. Now you're able to teach others and help others as they're navigating through this, for in your case, for mental health issues. So I think that it's great. I think that you being authentic is super important. And I think that's why people love you and your podcast.
You. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
Thanks.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you. It's
true.
from the heart as well as for yourself as well. When you go through experiences, and I am a teacher, so when you mentioned teaching aspect, my platform is so teaching. I don't know everything. I think I'm very similar, linear to you. But if I don't know it, I'm going to find someone who does know it, or I'm going to say I don't know it. And the conversations are just like hanging out in my kitchen or being on the couch, just as real as possible, because that's what really life is about. It's not scripted, it's real. And I think the more that people realize that, and they know that, of course, from your platform as well and your brand, Andrea, as well as mine, the more that they will want to attach themselves to you and spread that word. So thank you. And congratulations to you too.
Oh, you're so sweet. So where do you see the podcast going next? Like, so and how many episodes have you had so far?
That is a good question because I'm up to about, Apple's a little weird. I don't think they're calculate. I don't know. Maybe Apple is calculating correctly. I thought I'm about 142 roughly for the 5 years. But I also have to put into the fact that I did a lot of Instagram lives. When I first spoke to you, I was doing Instagram
I
lives.
think that's how we met, right? Was it on
Yes,
Instagram that we met?
it was. We went on Instagram. We did it. I was an Instagram liver. I was going all over the place. Pandemic was happening. I was wearing my mask. I was out there. June 10th, 2020 is when I began. So I mean, to your question, I think I just look, I'm hitting Times Square November 26th. I'm airing on a billboard. That was my manifestation of wanting to be in Times Square to bring the mental health place space there. November 27th, it's going to be airing for the world to see, along with a lot of amazing other creatives who are going to share these billboard spaces with me, who are bringing really creative brands as well. But mental health is something I want it to be. My future, my goal is to have the world know coming from the heart, know that you're never alone, know that stigmas are things that of the past, that we should openly feel other people's situations and not sit back and judge. It's definitely a work in progress, but I'm a worker bee that's going to just keep pushing it forward. I just want to hit other billboards around the world and have my message
So
out there
fun.
as much as I possibly can. And for brands, authentic brands, I'll stress that, for them to be able to attach to me and who I am and just bring the authenticity of destigmatization, keeping conversations alive about mental
Mm.
health. And I think the more that we can do that, the more that situations like of people going through perimenopause or menopause or any other type of anxiety situation. And again, perimenopause and menopause bring depression, bring anxiety. So I think you can't really like mention one thing without mentioning the other. I don't think that someone going through perimenopause or menopause doesn't ever experience a mental health moment or moments, because I think your body is changing. You're trying to figure out how to navigate. So for me, I just want coming from the heart to be a household world, not so much to know Helene, just to know that you're not alone by my platform.
And what do you recommend to women who are feeling that, who may be experiencing depression, who may be experiencing severe anxiety, who may be experiencing just even a dip in their self-esteem or their moods are all over the place? What do you suggest that they do?
Own your power. I'm going to take a pause here. Whatever you're doing in your life, try to get more into the practice of gratitude, which I've been doing for about a year now, more fully now. Manifestation, put things out there that you, not like I want a Porsche and tomorrow it's going to arrive at your door, but things that are more realistic in your reach, things that you want to aspire to. Have gratitude for waking up in the morning, walking outside, walking your door, having that cup of coffee. Appreciate your life. Life is so precious. Moments pass so quickly. And just enjoy your family, people that love you, people that don't care about you and don't really love you. Holidays are coming, family dynamics are tough. There's always going to be crappy, shitty days. So I say try to pull more into yourself the best that you possibly can and own your power. Once you have your power, you have everything. And it's not like a snap of a finger. I can sit here on this platform 5 years in. I'm not the person that I was when I started this platform by any means. I had no power. I didn't even know how to navigate and walk across the room. I was so dizzy and so out of it. It takes time. Tap into nature. Tap into things that make you feel good. For me, it's looking at water, it's riding a bike, it's going to the gym, it's taking a walk, singing a song, music, whatever floats your boat. Think back to your childhood with things that made you feel good. When you think about yourself as a kid, that is who you are. And then you kind of went in all these other directions. And just know that you're not alone, because a lot of other people are experiencing what you're experiencing. And as I say to myself, whatever you're feeling, this too shall pass. 5 minutes from now, you're going to be okay. It's just a moment.
Yeah, and what I'd love to add to that is also like if you need help and you need to speak to somebody, please speak to a professional, speak to a friend, speak to a family member, speak to somebody who can help you get through it because in some cases maybe you do need medication or some cases maybe you do need ongoing therapy or whatever it is. And what you're talking about too is you're speaking about mindset, which I'm a big fan of. So that's kind of
I
what yeah, that's what you were saying.
I
And
am speaking of mindset, but I'm also not negating medication and
yeah,
speaking to
of course.
100%. I would never sit here on my box and be like, oh, you have to do what you feel is good for you.
Yeah,
Everybody's an individual
exactly.
out there. Everyone's going to experiencing differences. I just am giving you my story and my journey, not to be me, but to absorb what I'm dealing with or what I still go through. Like, when you have mental health situations or problems, however you want to reference that word, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing work situation, meaning I work on myself every day to feel a certain way. I just don't arrive. There's things that I do to make myself feel better in my headspace. So I have a therapist, I have therapy, whatever's working for you, but I'm giving a more holistic approach because that's kind of how I live my life and my family lives their life. But again, whatever is working for you, that's perfect.
And I'm a big believer in mindset. I do mindset exercises every single morning. Like literally, and it's actually changed a lot for me because I wake up happy. Most of the time, I wake up happy, and then I kind of go right into my mantras. I have on my phone, I have all these videos that I've saved and just things that I love. And
Yeah.
I will start playing it in the morning before I get on my phone or before I do anything. I'll say them out loud while I'm getting ready. I'll have it playing in the background. And to me, I find that that's made a big difference in my mindset. And we can change our brain cells, right? Like we can change our mindset. We can change the way we think. And I find that this has helped me a lot.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we're very similar, Andrea. And looking in your mirror and saying, I got this. Every time I get on a podcast, doesn't matter if I'm doing my own or someone else's, I look into the mirror and go, you got this. You're going to be great. I say these mantras to myself. I used to say, I am great. I am good. I had this whole mantra thing when I was going through vertigo. I would look out in the ocean and affirm myself, not really knowing what I was doing. I was trying to push through the mindset. I was trying to survive actually at that time. But
Yeah,
mindfulness is something that's incredible. And your brain does change. We know that from the neuroscience
it
perspective.
does.
Every day I go outside, I'm like, I can almost feel, I know it sounds crazy, although you would agree, a shift on how I approach things or how I respond to someone, my husband, my kids, outside sources that may have upset me. But again, it's a practice. It's a practice. Yeah.
It is a practice. And it's funny because for me, I mean, I've tried to do the meditation thing. I just can't do it. Like my friend Lisa Borden, she always says there's also something called unmeditation, and that's for like people like myself that if you can meditate, I think it's absolutely incredible. And for me, I just have a hard time just sitting there and kind of not doing anything. So my form of unmeditation, let's say, are walks in nature, or it's journaling, or it's doing my mantras in the morning. So to me, that is a form of meditation. It's just in another way. And that works for my brain. It works really well for my brain. And so for me, I find that, and I agree with you. I believe that my mind has shifted. And I'm constantly working on my mindset and the spiritually, I'm always working on myself. I've been doing it for years and years and years. But I find that having incorporated now the mantras into what I do on a daily basis, I find that has made a very big difference.
It does. And do you feel a shift? You felt a shift.
Oh yeah, I feel a shift for sure. I mean, and listen, every day, I'd say, 9 out of 10 days, I feel like that shift is there. And then sometimes I'm reverting back to the way it used to be. And that's like, it's
Yeah.
normal.
I
I'm
mean,
human.
and I think it's like exercise. It's like anything else. And I love the part that you just brought up about, the meditation aspect. I used to say the same thing about meditation, but I think again, I do my own spin on it. And I agree with the nature aspect. If I go take a walk, it's very
Yeah,
introspective. And I feel like, there's so much out there on social media to act a certain way and be silent and be calm. Well, a lot of times people's brains don't work like that. So I'm glad we're talking about that. For me, I'm looking at the river and the Hudson and like I'm hearing the waves go back and forth and I'm just like trying to just think about my
that's
day.
a form of meditation.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So you don't what is meditation? I guess if we define meditation.
Yeah. No, it's whatever it means to us. And that's why I love Lisa's definition of, and I'll link to Lisa's podcast below where she talked about unmeditation. I love that because it gives us that ability to still, we're still stilling, or we're still doing whatever it is you're trying to calm your mind doing, and you're also doing it in a way that works well for you.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people have like, shame that they're not meditating right. And that becomes a
Exactly.
whole other thing.
Right.
Just do you, friends. Like, don't worry that your friend is like flat out on a mat and she's just yogiing. And that's not me. Like, I'm not insulting all the yogis out there, but that is not me. I'm just
Not me
always
either.
in my own place, my own space, doing my own thing way before I even knew what it was called. But now it's more of a practice. And I think that's really what it is. And every day, every day. And if I'm kind of like going off kilter or I'm upset about something, I pull it in a little bit, which I think helps it for me.
What's interesting too is one of the things, and I find now and again, I'll speak for me, but I know for a lot of women, we feel the same way, is that because we're more stressed now, there's more anxiety. Like we're, 66% of us are more stressed now than we were before, and we're less able to cope with it. And I see that as a major thing for me. Like I had anxiety before I got here, and now it's like I tried my best to help to manage it and regulate it. And, one of the things I'm trying to work on for myself is in the moment when something happens, like, so let's say you hear something that, sets you off. Now, it could be something that didn't set you off before, it does now, it doesn't matter. And something that sets you off, and this is an example that happened last week. One of the things that I'm working on and I'm proud of myself is that in the past, I would be like, it would bother me for days if something happened. Now I allow myself, I give myself, whether it's an hour or two or whatever it is, I try my best to work through it. And I have like these mantras that I'll say when something happens. But the first thing we need to do is to sit in it and to acknowledge that something is upsetting us or bothering us and giving ourselves a permission, because something had happened a couple weeks ago, and I ended up speaking to someone, and she was like, go to your mantras, don't let it upset you. And then I called my mom after, who's been a therapist for 35 years. She's a psychotherapist and a master social worker, and she's a master social worker, and she's like, absolutely, you acknowledge it, sit in it for a minute, acknowledge that something bothered you, then do what you need to do to get through it. And the key is the shorter and shorter amount of time that it helps you to get through it. And that's where I would say I'm proud of myself, because I'm able to not let it bother me for like 3-4 days. And now it's like, okay, an hour or two or whatever it is, like even if it's one day, whatever it is, the time has improved. And I think that's the key for all of us, is kind of seeing where we're going, right? How far we've come, and not be so hard on ourselves.
I love that. I feel 100% exactly like you. I call it the recording, the repetition, the repetition. It could have been an argument. It could have been a situation.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
And and it would fester in me to the point where it would just make me feel sick. And now, like yourself, through therapy, through mindfulness and all the other stuff, I too will acknowledge, whether it's to the person or to myself, I'm upset about whatever it is. This is bothering me right now, or to myself, this is bothering me. Okay. And so I'm like talking through it, and I'm self-soothing, as I talk about in therapy. I am self-soothing myself. I'm acknowledging, if you can, to that other person, like, okay, this is upsetting me, but I'm going to take my moment now to talk about it. And I think what happens is acknowledging to myself. So my brain's like, oh, okay. So we're going to just like let this go. And for however long it's going to sit with me, and then I let it go. And it's liberating as well for me, because I would just consume it. It would become part of me. It wasn't hurting that other person or anything around me. It was just me that it was destroying. So I think that that's growth for both of us. I can congratulate both of us. But it's again, it's work, and it's also thinking about the situation, but it's also, for me, it's giving me the ability to say, I'm going to soothe myself. I don't need you or the situation or anybody else to do that for me. And I think that for me, and it may have been like, for a lot of people out there, it could have been an experience in childhood where you're waiting for someone to acknowledge you so that you felt better. For me, it's like, again, back to owning your power. I'm going to own my power. And it's okay to
Mhm.
say, I'm going to own my power. You're not self-absorbing yourself. You're just making
No.
yourself
Yeah.
feel better. You're regulating your nervous system, and you're moving on. There we go.
Yeah, and yes, and I love that, and I love the whole self-regulation is big. And so I'm going to share one of the mantras that it's like kind of my go-to mantra. It's from Louise Hay.
Okay.
And when something like you said, it could be anything that sets you
Yeah,
off, whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. It could be someone else. It could be a situation. It could be whatever it is.
sure.
And the mantra that I keep it on my phone. I keep it right at the top. And it's one of those things that I have to remind myself to go to that. Like that should be like, it's like my first thing I need to go to. So it's all is well. Everything is happening for my highest good. And out of this situation, only good will come. And I thought it's so great. It's from Louise Hay. If you could find it, you can find it anywhere on social media of her saying it. And she has a different, a spin on it. But honestly, if you could record it, put it on your phone, put it in your notes app, whatever it is, all is well. Everything is happening for my highest good. And out of this situation, only good will come. And I am safe. Actually, that was the last part of it. And I am safe. So it's such a great mantra because, and she said that you repeat it over and over and over again. And what that does is it helps to it helps to relax you, and it does work. So I try to remind myself that every time something like that happens, just go to that mantra and just keep repeating it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it until you feel like a little bit more relaxed. And eventually that helps you kind of to work it through. And then the other thing you said that I love too, Helene, is you
You.
said like to kind of not to hold things in, to say how you feel. And I love that you said that because it's one of the things that I've promised myself as well is that I don't want to hold things in because if something upsets me, I want to tell people because then it's only hurting us when we're holding it in. And I don't want it breeds resentment and then anger. And I just don't want that anymore. So if something upsets you or somebody upsets you or whatever it is, and you're able to in a nice way, I don't believe that you don't say it rudely or you don't kind of just like scream it out or whatever. But
Nope.
like if you could say it in a way that makes you feel better, but you're getting something off your chest, I think that's really therapeutic as well.
It is. And it alleviates, stress, as we know, friends out there, does not help you going through your perimenopause or menopause or vertigo or any other ailment or situation that you're going through. In fact, it makes it worse. So if you can do the Andrea, I'm calling you the Andrea, if you can do Helene or do whatever you can do and take from what we're saying and take from the experts. And I like the part what you said about being safe because often you don't feel safe. You just feel frazzled within yourself. And I think that's something that a lot of women do deal with or absolutely deal with, that you're just deregulated, just as my daughter would say, dysregulated in a situation where you feel like you are completely spiraling. And I think for me, like I said moments ago, giving yourself the permission to tell yourself, I'm okay. I don't need this affirmation from the outside, and I don't care if you're a CEO or whatever, entrepreneur, whatever you're doing in your life, you may still have that inner child of yourself where you're still waiting to get a little bit of affirmation from something or someone. And I am learning, and I have learned, and I'm putting it out there to own my power. I know
Yeah,
it sounds so simple, but it's not. And I think the more that we go through these mantras or whatever you do to make yourself feel empowered, you're going to get there. It's going to work.
it will.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you. Inspiring. So, Helene, can you share how people can listen to your podcast, Coming from the Heart?
Of course, you can find me on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. What else am I on? TikTok. I don't really put the full episodes on TikTok. Most episodes are on YouTube full form, but of course, Spotify and Apple is mostly where I live, or all where I live. Every Sunday, there is a new podcast with a new inspiring voice, all different types of people. So check it out. You guys will definitely attach to a lot of that. Women empowerment, all different types of communities we touch. And of course, I do land on Instagram. That is mostly where I am at coming_from the heart podcast. So
I
please
love it.
say hi, follow me to the Times Square moments because I'll be there.
I'm so excited for you. That is really, really cool.
It is so, so cool. And you are cool too. And thank you for having me. I love this. This is awesome.
Well, thank you for being on.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Helene. If you did, please share it because the more you share shows you care. And please take a moment to rate and review our podcast, Menopause Reimagined, because when you do that, it tells the algorithm that you're enjoying the content that you're hearing on our podcast. Thank you for spending the last little bit with me. I know there's a lot you could be doing, but instead you chose to spend your time with me. And for that, I'm grateful. I'll see you at the next interview.